Through majestic forests, alpine valleys and crystal clear lakes, following the trails of wild animals, in search of rare birds, in places where no man had set a foot before. Precious, magnificent nature, in all its diversity and grandeur, in the documentary series Kazakhstan's Wildlife Sanctuaries. Our expedition had arrived to one of the most picturesque places of Kazakhstan, KARKARALY National Nature Park. It is located in the eastern part of Karaganda region. The nature of central Kazakhstan is remarkably diverse. Small rivers crossing valleys and boundless steppes are followed by high ridges of mountainous forest tracks. Numerous streams run down from the mountains. The water is clean, cold and tastes like thawed snow. In the spring, thawed and groundwater washes out the road. Therefore, riding through the steppe is very challenging during spring high waters. The central manor of the national park is located on the northern outskirts of KARKARALINSK city. Total area of the park is 112,120 hectares. The park consists of 4 forest areas. Gorge, Mountainous and KARKARALY are located on the same site, while Kent and Bakhty are in areas remote from one another. The beginning of the history of KARKARALINSK dates back to the 18th century. Back then, caravan routes from Central Asia to Siberia and Western China were passing along the mountain. The largest international trade point was flourishing here. Each year, the grandest merchants sought to get to the Koyandy fair. In 1827, after the transformation of the district into a Cossack village, KARKARALINSK was given the status of a city. It was the first city in the vast territory of Sarayarka. Ethnic composition of KARKARALINSK was also unique. 2 different cultures have merged here, Cossack and Kazakh. KARKARALY forestry was formed in 1884. In 1998, based on that territory, the national park was established. The KARKARALY Nature Park is located almost in the central part of the Kazakh uplands. It's a real oasis among steppe plains. The landscape of the park is unique, mainly due to the relict vegetation composition. Most distinct tree on the terraces of the old mountain ranges of KARKARALY and Kent are pine trees. The coniferous massif, alternating with sectors of birch and aspen, resembles the outlines of the mountainous Siberian and Altai lands. This is the farthest southern point in Kazakhstan where such an ancient ecosystem has survived. It's amazing to see how pines hide in the crevices of granite blocks. You may come across short, stunted varieties of pine. There are also shrubs and dwarf pines. Pines grow in presence of granite, and KARKARALY and Kent mountains contain granite. Granite mountains were formed by destruction and weathering processes. After that, the soils were formed, and on these soils grew forest, the flora of the mountain. Perhaps the most interesting place to observe animals is the zoological enclosure in the Gorge mountainous forestry. That was the first place we visited here. The enclosure was created as a safari park. The territory doesn't differ from the wild nature. Birch groves and coniferous forest serve as a safe hiding place for animals. Therefore, the inhabitants of the enclosure feel safe. Tourists can watch deer, roe deer and fallow deer. It's unusual to see huge bison, which is not typical animal for this region. They were brought here back in 1988 from North America. Bison adapted well and even had offspring. Abundant vegetation during warm seasons allows hoofed animals to multiply their populations. In harsh winter time, the animals are fed by the park's staff. Over the years of the enclosure, the total number of offspring is 76. The enclosure became a home for newborns. Employees of the park periodically release some amount of young animals into the wild. In 2006, 12 red deer were released to the territory of the Gorge and Kent forestries. And in 2011, 16 wild boars were released to the Gorge forestry.
Из млекопитающих здесь обитает
46 mammal species inhabit these places. 2 species are red-listed. It is Karkaраly and Manil. Manil is a small wild cat. Larger species include boar, elk, wolf, fox, Cossack fox, hare and lynx. 224 kinds of birds, not all of them nesting, some migrating species. Non-migrating birds are owls, golden eagles, booted eagles, Seka falcons. The migrating species include grey cranes, demoiselle cranes, grey herons. Ornithologists explored the lakes between mountain massives of the national park and discovered a very rare white-headed duck. This is an interesting bird with an unusual appearance. It has a node on its beak, and during mating season, males' bills are bright blue color. For such a rare endangered bird, the protected lakes of the KARKARALY Park have become the predominant nesting place in Kazakhstan. Therefore, local ornithologists appeal to international organizations to include these steppe lakes in the World Registry of Key Ornithological Territories. We didn't get to see the white-headed duck, but were lucky enough to see other, no less amazing birds. Numerous duck species nest around large and small lakes of the national park. Among them, there is the diving one, the tuft duck. It is distinguished by a characteristic tuft on the back of the head and a white stripe on the wings. The male is usually black and white, with a long tuft, and the female is brown. Eurasian coot is also nesting here. It is a black bird the size of a small duck. A white spot on her forehead is what distinguishes it from other species. Kent and KARKARALY mountains are only a small part of the huge mountain system in the eastern part of the Karaganda region. They stretch in a semi-arch manner for more than 3,000 kilometers. The mountains are dividing into several spurs with broad forest steppe valleys in the north. The highest peak of KARKARALY is situated in Komisarovka. Its height is 1,403 meters above sea level. This peak is crowned by 3 massive stone towers. The mountain was named Komsomol Peak in 1936 after a group of young people climbed on it. There is a legend narrating about this peak to be the retreat of an old man whose name was Sakal Auliye. In time, people noticed that on the western side, the hillside actually resembles the beard of a mysterious inhabitant and even has a yellowish tinge. Therefore, the rock regained its original name, Sakal. At an altitude of 1,200 meters above sea level, not far from this mountain, there is a lake with mystical name Shaitan Kol, Devil's Lake. A lot of rumors and legends were born around this silent lake. That Sakal Auliye man, as the old-timers say, often visited this place. One day he saw mysterious man-like creatures swimming on the lake. Saint believed that they were demons and drove them away. Since then, no strange creatures were seen, but stone figures continue stimulating fantasies of people with a wild imagination. The way to the top to the Devil's Lake passes between pine forests. The open roots of the pines stretch for meters, creating amazing intertwining. There are giant ant hills on trails. Red forest insects are constantly on the move, but each has its own specific task. Sometimes there is a rattle of a great spotted woodpecker. It persistently searches for food under the bark. However, there is complete silence near the mysterious pond. Even frogs don't live here. Although the depth has not yet been measured, the locals say that the water level is constant. On the banks, willow thickets stick right out of the water. Willows bloom right after the last frost, and first pollinators, bumblebees, appear on its fluffy inflorescence. Knowledgeable herbalists claim that the decoction from the willow bark serves as an astringent. It contains a large amount of tannins. It is also an antipyretic, anti-inflammatory drug. After all, the acetylsalicylic acid was first extracted from the bark. Everyone who visits KARKARALINSK seeks these bizarre rocks overgrown with spruce. From the south, Kent Mountains look like a mighty, impregnable wall rising above the steppe. Water and wind sculpted them for millions of years. Faces of holy old men, silhouettes of birds, animals, lizards, mystical creatures can be seen among the rocks. Kent Mountains keep many secrets and mysteries. One of them is KYZYLKENISH Palace. Its ruins are located in the KYZYLKENISH Gorge. A popular tourist route of the national park is leading to it. Baujan Gabduling is a hereditary forester. His father also took care of the preservation of the KARKARALY forests. Baujan knows the history of his land and can lead an interesting excursion.
Ерте заманнан бастап адамдарды өздеріне тарта бастаған.
From the ancient times, Kent Mountains attracted people. That is why there are so many historical monuments in these picturesque places. One of these is in front of you. This construction of the 16th, 17th centuries is called KYZYLKENISH. The peculiarity of this historical monument is that it is located in the most beautiful place created by nature itself. The history of this monument goes back to many centuries. KYZYLKENISH Palace was the only building that remains since Middle Ages on the vast expanses of Sarıarka. Some people claim that it used to be a pagan temple where a hermit lived. Others believe that it was a Kalmyk monastery. Kazakh people have a legend narrating about daughter of Jangarian Khan that explains origins of this ancient building. According to the legend, the daughter of Jangarian Khan was traveling with her huge suite from the Volga River through KARKARALINSK. Severe frosts had caught their caravan while they were in Kent Mountains. The travelers were forced to spend winter in these places. So they built this temple. However, this is just a legend. Remains of just several buildings had survived to our days. In the middle of the 20th century, the historical monument suffered through severe destructions. Local residents used its stones as a construction material for farm buildings. Two photographs made in early 20th century give an idea of what this structure looked like after people abandoned it. This photo shows that the building had a balcony. This place, where we are at the moment, was the main building of the temple. It was cross-shaped. The balcony was above the entrance. This building had 3 wings. Nearby there is another building, as well as one more cult building and a residential structure. Back then, KYZYLKENISH consisted of 4 buildings. After many years of research, archaeologists came to several conclusions. KYZYLKENISH was a Buddhist temple complex, a unique cultural monument of the Jungar Khanate. The nature and the history of KARKARALY National Park is exciting. Leaving this place, we only wish to come back here someday.